How long is a minute? Is it a long time? Is it a short time? Think about it. You can brush your teeth in a minute. In a minute, it is so short if what you're doing is spending time with a loved one. If it is scrolling on one of your favorite social media places, it is a very short time if you're trying to shop for something. A minute is less than the time it likely takes you to grab your keys, walk out to your vehicle, start the car, and go someplace. A minute can be very, very short. But what if you are someone's pulling every piece of hair out of your head? What if you are being pained? What if you cut your finger and the doctors are stitching it up? The minute seems like forever. What if you're standing in line at the grocery store and you really have to go to the bathroom? That minute can seem torturous. So a minute of time is still just 60 seconds. But depending on what we are waiting for, depending on what we are doing, it changes that minute of time to be something we dread and something that will never end, or something that just goes way too quickly. We all have time, and we all have the same 24 hours. And yet I think about this all the time. So many of us are trying to find more time to do some of the things that we love. Many of you say, I don't have that much time to pray. I don't have that much time to go to adoration. Look, I'll admit it. I want to go to adoration for an hour each week, and I haven't been able to do that. And so I've been talking to my spiritual director about, what are the best ways for me to get back into my Bible study as I used to do. Now, don't get me wrong, I used to spend an hour a day reading the Bible and just praying and meditating. Loved it. It started out as 5 minutes, got up to about an hour. Sometimes it would be longer, but I had to get to my day. And then when I found and started attending daily mass, I had only in my mind so much time because I had to do that. Well, I didn't have to. I chose to go to mass in the morning, and then I couldn't find time to put the Bible study someplace, even 5 minutes, because I had to do other things. Do I give God all those? Do I give him 2 hours now? Do I give him just the 1 hour? What about the job he gave me? What about the vocation? Time is kind of a crazy thing when it comes to our minds, because it is controlled by our minds. How we spend our minutes are based on what we allow ourselves to think is important and exciting, or a dread. And maybe not even a dread, but something we say, I will get to it. And I know you've heard this before, but when you think about it, how you spend your time absolutely shows what your priority is. When you were first falling in love with your loved one and you got a break at work, you'd quickly call that person, text that person, be like, hey, just wanted to say hi. You couldn't take your mind off that person. And a minute was too short. A half-hour lunch break, you could have gone hours. You could have just talked to that person forever. And then yet you've been married for 5, 10, 20 years. And spending 5 minutes with that person, and that it's painful, but you don't have time because I've got to go do this, or I've got to go work in the garage, or I've got to fix the car, or I've got to go balance the checkbook. But some of you, that's a thing, and some people still do it. Still do it. Or I've just got things to do, and we don't mean to be saying anything hurtful. But what about that minute? What about that minute? I want to just go spend time with you. With you. I recently heard a story A priest was telling a story about a woman and a husband having the conversation about going to adoration. And the wife was trying to convince the husband to come to adoration with her. And he said, Jesus knows I love him. Jesus knows I love him. So he didn't feel the need to go to adoration. But when this man got sick, he went to the hospital for a test, which was supposed to be inpatient. He called his wife and said, they found an infection and I need to stay overnight. What time are you going to be here? And she said, I can't. I've got to feed the kids. I've got to do this. I've got to bounce checkbook. I've got these errands to run. And he said, you're not even going to be spending the day with me? And she said, you know, I love you. The guy got it immediately, but it really spoke to me because I teach time management classes. And one of the key components to time management is really, really recognizing what your priorities are. Not what you say your priorities are, but what your priorities really are. And you can tell what they are by what you spend your time on. Now, I know this is too much information, but hey, I'm pretty blunt. I think about the fact that I wake up every day and I keep my phone away from my bed because I don't want all the 5G messing up my brain and things, and put it in the bathroom. So I have to get up out of bed and go turn off the alarm. I immediately sit down and I pick up my phone and just check to see who's texted me, what emails came through. And sometimes it's 15 minutes of just scrolling through. First thing. I haven't even said my prayer. Most of the time I've said good morning to God and said my morning offering before I get up and go to the restroom and pick up the phone, but sometimes I don't. Now, 15 minutes may not seem like a lot. 15 minutes, you can't even get into Disneyland in 4 times that amount of time. But in 15 minutes, I could have gotten up, shut off that alarm, done what I need to do, brushed my teeth, brushed my hair, gotten dressed, go to my office/prayer meditation room, and then given God still another 10 of those minutes. It's kind of an addiction that I'm aware of. And sometimes I'm okay and I succeed in saying, put the dang phone down. Sometimes I fail. It's going to be part of what I do for Lent because it's ridiculous. Because though I can apologize to God for what I do, oh God, it's just 15 minutes. And it breaks my heart to say it. If it were my boyfriend, when he and I were still dating, those 15 minutes would have been so precious. And if I would have ever said to him, well, let me just go do my things first, it would have hurt him. I know I hurt God. I don't like saying what many of us say. Oh, God understands. Of course he understands. But that doesn't mean it makes him feel any more loved. Our time and how we spend it is the number one measure of our love for God. Number one. Number one. There's nothing else that can measure our love for God differently. Because it's the amount of time I give him. Am I focusing on him, his word, prayer? Am I focusing on the Bible? Am I focusing on Mass? What am I reading? What am I watching? What am I doing? Now, does that mean I have to give God 24 hours of me reading the Bible? Absolutely not. God gave me a vocation. I must get to my vocation. But I must constantly have my mind fixed on God. God, would it please you right now? Thank you so much for this client you sent me. Oh, Lord, I'm going to be meeting with this client and they're really struggling in this area. And Lord, I need your wisdom. Thanks for sending me the client. And thanks for giving me the words that I need to speak to them to help them. Because really, Lord, I'm nothing. It's you. So you can go about your vocation and you can still thank God. You can still talk to God. While I see clients, I'm talking to God the whole time. Oh gosh, Lord, you hear this question, make sure I can answer it properly. You talk to God while you're running, while you're working out. Lord, I always have a hard time with these bicep exercises. Am I holding this right? Can you remind me? Have my guardian angel, Lord, correct my arm position. Everything you do. And some people might say, I remember my mom used to say, don't bore God with the little things. He's too busy doing the big things. I've since corrected her going, God is perfect. God can work with me on the little things and still save the world all at the same time. And further, God wants you to ask him, talk to him, rely on him every second of every minute of every day, of every week, of every month, of every year, of your entire lifetime. That's our point. That's why he has us here, because when we die and we go to heaven, we won't want to do differently. It'll be like when we first fell in love, and better, with our lover. I get to see God today. I get to go hang out, and we'll be talking to our neighbors like, oh my gosh, let's go, let's go, let's go. And we'll be in jubilation, and we'll think of God as we walk together and talk together and play volleyball together, and whatever it is God's going to allow us to do in heaven. And we're going to have great joy because God will be at the center of everything we do. How do you measure your time? How do you manage your time? This isn't made to make you feel guilty, but in a sense it is. It's to convict you. It's to convict me. Where are your time sucks? Even if you start by not picking up your phone first thing when you go into the restroom to brush your teeth or do your business. That's 5 extra minutes you can give our Lord. 5, just start with those 5. Is he saying it's a sin to scroll? Is it a sin to go on social media? No. But where does it take you? Does it take your mind off of God? Does it put your mind on God? Do you find yourself scrolling? Is it taking you away from your children? What's taking you away from your spouse, your vocation, your priesthood? Look at your minutes and say, instead, 15 minutes. It's a long time. 15 minutes is nothing at all, depending what you're doing. Perhaps you'll start enjoying that 15 minutes and not letting your mind distract to what else you could be doing, because that's just Satan's proddings. I could talk about this topic a lot because this is an area in which I fail constantly. I'm trying always to measure my minutes and give God my best. What do you do? What are some of the tricks that you use to help you keep your time properly managed? I really would love to hear your suggestions, and I think others would as well. So thanks for watching this informational Bacon Bit. I'm Dr. Christine Bacon. Thank you for watching Breakfast with Bacon. And as always, I'd like to remind you to live your life sunny side up.